Now this tutorial has to do with animating text in Photoshop. Although Photoshop is not an animation software, there are very limited options that we can use to animate effects. Alright, so I'm just going to give you the rundown on how that's done. And to do so, we're going to start off by creating a new page. It looks like this. And I'm going to add some text onto my page called moving. Alright, and basically what I'm trying to show you here is a combination on how to move text and images. Text and images can be considered as objects, so how to move objects in Photoshop or animate objects in Photoshop. Here we have a text. In addition to the text, I'm actually going to create another layer onto which I'm going to put an object, which could be a photo or anything else, but in our case I'm actually going to put a gradient rectangle like this one. Alright, I'm going to click on the gradient and just click and drag in it. So we have that. Alright, so here on our stage we have text and a gradient image, an object. Alright, and like I said, you can replace any one of these with pictures and whatever the case is, whatever object is you choose. So given these two objects on our screen, what I'm going to do is first of all position them. Say I'm going to start them off like so, and once I have them in my start position, what I want to do next is go to Windows, Animation. Animation brings up this screen right here, this bar, which is our animation bar, and we have one frame in the animation bar. And what I like to do is come over here and I want to duplicate the selected frame by clicking on this. By clicking on this, I have a duplication of the first frame. Now what we do next is going to actually define our animation. So I'm going to, let's say this is the first screen and this is where I want everything to start off. This is the last screen, which is where I want everything to end up. So I'm going to click on the second frame, hit the Control button on the keyboard, go to the screen or your workspace and move your objects accordingly. Alright, and if you notice here, and I've released the control key, by the way, you notice here our bar is now here. Our text, well, highlight the text from here. You know, this bar you can actually click and move up here if it's in your way. So you can move it right up here just to make sure you have access to your layers. Alright, and I'm going to take the text and I'm going to bring the text say right here, and I want to bring the layer to about here. Okay, so once I have that, I have my starting position up here and my ending position here. Now is a question of creating what happens in between. It's the tweening effect, and for those of you who know somewhat about web design in Adobe Dreamweaver, or more precisely Fireworks, a lot of tweening takes place, and the same applies to After Effects, where you have a lot of tweening. Tweening is actually the action that happens between these two frames, which are the beginning frame and the ending frame. So how do we add that? Well, we're going to go to the first frame, come down to this key right here, and click on Tween's animation frames. I'm going to click on it and it gives me this pop-up bar, and it's asking me how many frames do I want to have between both of these guys. Well, I'm just going to choose 15 frames. Okay, because by default in Flash 15 frames or 12 frames is actually what they run with. So I'm going to click on 15 frames here and I'm going to click OK, and you notice it adds in all the frames. So if I click on each frame, you notice my picture on the board is actually moving, and to see it move in real time, all I have to do is press the play. Alright, and it's doing this continuous loop. I'm going to stop it, come down over here, click on the drop down arrow key, choose once, play it, and it happens just once. Play it again, and it happens just once. Alright, so now we have our animation and we're happy with it. What do we do with it? Well, I can go to File, Save As. Let me redo that. File, Save for Web and Devices. Alright, that's what you want to choose. Not Save As, but Save for Web and Devices. I'm going to choose Save for Web and Devices. When it comes here, the very first thing I want to do is I don't want to save this as a JPEG. I want to change it to something that can be animated, like a GIF file, for example. So I'm going to choose a GIF. Alright, once I choose a GIF, automatically we have players buttons down here. We have player buttons that appear, which means I can click on this and I'll see my actual animation. Alright, now once I determine this, I can go over here and give him more command as to how I want this to happen. If you're going to have this as, let's say, an icon that you're going to be using on the page, or a brief animation, you can have it go forever, or you can go to other and say, hey, I want this to play 6 times, and boom, that's it. So once you create this animation, it's going to play 6 times and then just stop right here. Once you have it done, it's now a matter of just going to save, and you can put on your desktop as animated page is what I'm going to call it, and I'm going to save it, and now it's saved. Just like that, you have created animation in Photoshop.